Ballyhoo. Books and Ballyhoo, keeping it fresh for young readers too. Books and Ballyhoo.
Welcome to the Books and Ballyhoo Book Review. This is Lady Selah, and today we are featuring Cave Kiddos, A Sunny Day. Now, this book was released this year, February 2016, and it's been gaining quite a good following and popularity. There's over 42 Amazon reviews on their website, but there's many more reviews on other sources as well. It has about an average of about 4.5 stars for each review. A lot of the reviews are very positive, ranging from parents and educators to professional book reviewers. So I encourage everyone to check out Cave Kiddos, A Sunny Day, and you'll see a lot of good reviews there on Amazon. Cave Kiddos is a very fun book. It's about 4 Paleolithic children who share the experience of developing and learning important words and concepts. And you get to see the world through their eyes and through their discoveries and how they put those words and concepts together. Now, Paleolithic is relating to a cultural period of the Stone Age that begins with the earliest chipped stone tools, which is a very interesting time period. And I like the fact that the author, Eric J. Cash, has chosen this time period to feature the book. Now, the illustrations are quite charming. If many of you remember, the Flintstones were a very successful series. They were utilizing cave dwellers in the town of Bedrock. And this is the similar time frame that Eric Cash has chosen for his book. That in itself is quite brilliant, and that's due to the fact that the Stone Age was very simplistic in nature, and the development happened in phases as it does in Cave Kiddos. Eric has visually been able to describe in Cave Kiddos through the illustrations the process of speech development with the children. We are going to take a brief commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about language and development and how it relates to this brilliant book. We'll be right back. Keeping it fresh for young readers too. Books and Ballyhoo. Books and Ballyhoo.
Do you see that doggy in the shelter?
Hi, I'm Buddy, the adorable puppy you adopted from the Humane Society. Meow. I'm Whiskers, a fluffy kitty, just waiting for someone to love me.
When you adopt a pet, we hope your new furry friend will become a cherished member of your family. And as Buddy and Whiskers will tell you, the key to success is following the rules to love by.
Woof, that's right. Please give me food, water, and exercise every day. To stay healthy, I need the same kind of things you need. talk to me. I like hearing your voice. You're my best friend. Please don't stay mad at me or lock me up as punishment. Remember, I'm probably going to live 10 to 15 years, so take care of me when I get old. One day you'll need someone to take care of you, too.
A message from the Montgomery County Humane Society. Visit www.mchumane.org for the complete rules to love by.
Be your best friend for life.
Books and Ballyhoo, keeping it fresh for young readers too. Books and Ballyhoo.
Welcome back to the Books and Ballyhoo program. This is Lady Selah Juris, and we are talking about Cave Kiddos, A Sunny Day, and this was written by Eric J. Cash. I really enjoy looking at the book and the illustrations. As I mentioned earlier, they're quite charming. The characters have the scene is set in the Paleolithic time frame, the Stone Age, and the illustrations are very depictive of that time period, and it makes it kind of fun. But what we're going to do is we're going to take a step back. We're going to talk a little bit about language development, which most of us know it actually begins before birth. At the end of the pregnancy, a baby can hear sounds and speech even when they're inside the mother's body. Infants are acutely attuned to the human voice and prefer it to other sounds. And they actually recognize various different sounds. So when babies are born, oftentimes they can recognize their mother's voice. They've been listening to it for 9 months. And when an infant is spoken to, it will often calm them down or quiet them down. They can turn their head and find familiar voices and sounds. And they also cry differently. Now, we know that crying is a way that newborns and babies communicate. So they cry differently according to the needs that they have. And every mother can remember the first coo that their baby makes, but they also can whimper and gurgle and chuckle. But they also make sounds like ooh and ah. And all of us remember our babies, especially parents, going through those different phases. So from 3 and 6 months, most infants can actually watch the mouth movements. They can tell the difference in changes of tone, and they can display pleasure, excitement. They cry differently. They can laugh, squeal, sigh. Oftentimes they're found sputtering loudly or blowing bubbles, and they begin to really change the shape of their mouth as they're making different sounds. They also can communicate with gestures, and sometimes you'll hear a babbling when they want attention. But they start beginning to mimic sounds. So what's really important about this is that children learn from their environment. And the sounds and babblings and the stages of language development are identical in all babies around the world, including those who are profoundly deaf. So, in other words, babies have and are born with the capacity to learn any language. But it's interesting what the determination is of, and it's the social interaction that determines what languages they learn. It is critical for parents to be very interactive with their children in the development of languages. And that's one thing that I appreciate in Eric's book. He has children who have had speech and developmental learning challenges, and he's worked with his own children, so he's very familiar with this process. And I like the fact that he put the experience that he's had and put it into this story as he perceived his own children as they're exploring and they're trying to figure out sounds and concepts and then make them fit with the words. So it's a beautiful book that has been nicely illustrated to depict this scenario. Now, oftentimes, when children are trying to develop the speech, they listen to what's spoken first. And it's the repetitiveness that they get from their family or siblings. They understand no pretty quickly, and they repeat various different sounds. So language development is enriched by verbal interaction. And parents and caregivers and educators all have a very significant impact on early language development. It has been shown through the National Institute of Child Health and Human Development, known as NICHD, that very talkative parents produce twice the vocabulary in their children versus parents who are very quiet and, they don't talk as much. So it really shows that the communication and the interaction between parent and child is critical in their development. Oftentimes, the way we interact with children also to help them develop is really critical, making sure that we're smiling and our interaction is positive and there's a give and take in the conversation and speaking words that our children can understand slowly. And all this interaction they're taking in. They're just like a sponge soaking up everything that is taking place. So there are also concerns when parents are having difficulty, and this is what Eric J. Cash experienced himself. So although Cave Kiddos was written primarily for slower developing speech and the learning challenges in mind, I like the fact that Eric has slowed us down as adults, as parents, as educators. And he has reminded us that learning to speak is a process. And sometimes we need to take a step back to see this broad view and the amazing development that's taking place with children. Every child develops their language, speech, or communication skills at their own pace. And we've all heard the stories from parents about early talkers to children who didn't speak a word until they were school age. And this frightened many parents. But what we want to remember that is no matter what level your child is at, involvement is a fundamental key. Involvement in the learning and developing process. So Eric Cash has produced a valuable book to assist parents and educators. Now, for some beginning speakers, new readers, talking and reading can be challenging and confusing. And it breaks it down by syllable. And it shows that repetitiveness is critical. And there's an excitement in the book, in the story, when the children make the connection between the sound, the syllable, and the object. There is this celebration that's taking place. They got it. They understood. So I know that the book is targeted towards those that have speaking and reading disabilities. However, there are children also who might be ADD. They have short attention spans, and they would greatly gain from this book. What I liked about it was the fact that it told me to take a step back so that when I'm communicating with children, which is quite often, or in an educator forum, I think everyone can benefit from this. From grandparents who have, their new grandparents or new parents, teachers, the educators, the daycares. This is a really perfect, picturesque book that helps us really grasp visually what the children are going through, no matter what level they're at. I wanted to share a couple of reviews because I thought the information in the reviews was really detailed and very thoughtful. So we're going to share one review by a woman named Vera. And she said the challenge of his own children who were delayed talkers brought Eric J. Cash into the realm of publishing. His first book of The Cave Kiddos is filled with some of the cutest kids on the block. Just love these 4 kiddos. They are charming with bright eyes, wide smiles, and exuberance. If you have not read a wordless book to a child, then you haven't experienced the joy of discovery as the child and you tell and retell the story based on your own interpretation of the illustrations. Cave Kiddos, A Sunny Day is not a wordless book, but it is a first cousin to one. Mr. Cash has taken the development of early language of Paleolithic children, or the cave dwellers, and used the perception of language development to write this story, which is about discovering the word water. I really like what Vera wrote here. She touches on several different aspects. But that's a very concise picture of what this book is about. I think anyone can benefit from this book, as Vera goes on to mention in her own review. I also want to share another review, and this is by In Light. And he wrote this review from the Kindle edition. And he summed it up as saying, in one word, brilliant. And that was really nice, that he could narrow it down, but he did want to elaborate also. He says, I will indulge you and describe why I think this children's book is brilliant. Children's books are meant to educate as well as entertain. Children learn to read through picture books, and Eric J. Cash captures the essence of learning to read through a child's viewpoint. Learning to read is an exciting thing, but it also can be overwhelming when there are lots of words children do not understand, especially if they are delayed speakers. So Cave Kiddos strips away all the stumbling blocks for children that are struggling to read, and the book offers a creative alternative. I remember when my cousin Brett was learning to read, he had difficulty putting the letters together to form words. And he got very frustrated with himself. And it wasn't until I covered up the letters with my hand and pointed to the illustrations, he finally understood. He knew what each thing I was pointing to. He just needed a little help putting the word to the picture. And that's exactly what Cave Kiddos, A Sunny Day does. So I wanted to share those two reviews with our listeners that were very well written out, very, very well thought out. And it helps paint a picture to what other people are perceiving as far as the book goes. The illustrations are, as we have already mentioned, both the reviewers and myself, very charming pictures, very nice, and a lot of fun to go through each page and kind of pick out different little features, not just about the characters, but the scenes in the background, and have a conversation with children about what they're perceiving from those pictures. So I, too, hope Eric J. Cash creates more books of this genre, because he really has provided parents and educators a good tool to use and a fun book for children. Congratulations, Eric, on a book well done. The resources that we use today: Cave Kiddos, A Sunny Day, Wikipedia, the Child Development Institute, and Health of Children Language Development, and Amazon Kindle. So I want to thank everyone for joining us and listening to the Children's Book and Ballyhoo Show. This is Lady Selah Juris, and we invite everyone to join us again next time.
Keeping it fresh for young readers too. Books and Ballyhoo. Books and Ballyhoo. Keeping it fresh for young readers too.
Started out as ordinary, became a life of voyages and journeys throughout the world. Wilbur Valentine was part of some of the most monumental historical moments in American history, along with his crew, sailing on ships, across oceans, working his way to shipmaster, and becoming Captain Wilbur H. Valentine. To learn more about his experiences, triumphs, and the love that made him bear it all, visit online at somnauticaltales.com.